I don't want to get her involved in this. I want to ruin her life. Like it's something like this. I don't want her involved in this. Okay.
It made contact and shattered.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Callie take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was
reference to a missing 4-year-old, the parents have called me and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Hello?
It's gone.
Hey guys, how's everybody? Thank you for being here and welcome to another ATS News live stream and live chat. We are covering the DylanRounds case, and this case has me all over the place. So much information come out very quickly. I guess we'll start off with some quick updates and then we'll get right into a little bit of background and then go back into some new information and new updates too. It's just going to be kind of like a roller coaster of a ride with audio clips and images I find interesting. And you guys know how I put things together at this point. So I just want to say hi to everybody in chat and hello to my moderators. And thank you everyone for being here. And yes, I am still waiting on the monetization, the remonetization process to go through. I will get re-reviewed on July 30th. So until then, I'm begging you guys to just like the stream, keep me out in the algorithm, and yeah, just show your support that way is all I really ask. We got to keep these cases and faces out there, regardless if YouTube wants to push my content or not while I'm not monetized. So I'm going to play some background information that I put together just to lay out the case a little bit. And it's only like 3 minutes long. And then I'm going to read what Box Elder Police Department just posted 50 something minutes ago. Actually, let me just read it right now. So this is straight on their Facebook page. The law enforcement investigation into the disappearance of DylanRounds is ongoing. Law enforcement continues to be in the Lucin area. At this time, there are no organized searches planned for members of the public to participate in that are supported or authorized by law enforcement. We are asking the public to not search the area as it has potential to compromise the investigation. We are working with the Rounds family and they want to have us ask to share the following statement. As a family, we are not asking for or requesting any additional public services for DylanRounds at this time. We request that everyone allow law enforcement to continue their organized investigation without any hindrance or interference. In order to avoid jeopardizing the investigation, we thank everybody for their continued support in finding DylanRounds. So basically, family thanking everybody and also authorities and the family saying, like, we don't need any extra searches. We don't need people to come out here. They've got everything covered in their way that they're handling it. Hi, Mike, and hello, Kelly. Searches equals answers. Delana, criminality, Karen, it's good to see you guys. Crazy crime chick, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, I'm just very happy you're here. Hello, No Thanks Investigates in Florida. I'm glad you liked the intro. I knew you would be impressed. Okay, so let me just switch the screen a little bit. We're going to run through the, same PSA that we have been doing for Dylan. Then we're going to recap the search efforts, which is only like 2 minutes. And then we'll go into some audio clips. And obviously, you guys know I have my pages of notes on everything that I've kind of been reviewing. DylanRounds was last seen at the Saddle Sore Bar in Montello, Nevada on May 26, 2022. On May 28th, he spoke with his grandmother over the phone, but that was the last time anybody had heard from him. By May 30th, Dylan was reported missing, and it was on that day that they discovered his Ford truck and his boots were on the property. He is 19 years old, around 5'11", and he weighs roughly 160 pounds. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of DylanRounds, you are urged to call 435-734-3800. And as everybody has probably already heard, we know that Robert, his last name starts with an O. He was associates with Chase. Chase and who the heck? Oh, Jim, duh. The guy we're like honing in on the most this live stream. James is they're all in custody. They're all, I'm sure being put under pressure by FBI, all the law enforcement agents, and it's only a matter of time before one of them turns on the other, because I believe this crime was more than one person. I feel like that's a consensus in the majority. So we have people in custody. We have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, I imagine. And, the problem, though, is it's a race against the clock in recovering the body, because obviously the longer it takes to recover, the worse off the evidence will be as far as figuring out what exactly happened. So let's just listen to just a little clip of the search efforts, and then we'll get into the audio clips that I've kind of been saving. And again, guys, I've been watching the media clips on this. I'm going to play something that was posted 4 days ago, which listed James, aka Jim, as a suspect 4 days ago. So that information isn't really new. I mean, it is new because my last live stream was 5 days ago. So this was after that. But yeah, Jim has been a suspect for a few days now. Week 1 search for DylanRounds. Searches in the area took place by BESO along with Weber County Fire and Rescue with helicopters, an airplane, ATVs, horses, on-foot search parties, and cadaver dogs. After 6 hours, BESO called off the search because they were 99% sure he wasn't in the 3-by-5 mile area search radius. This was said on June 7th, Fox 13 News interview with Justin Rounds. 200 to 300 search volunteers of all types searching on the Utah side, including 5 private air searches until they ran out of fuel. This was spoken on June 13th by Candace on Sleuth Mom and on Duty Ron on June 14th. Diesel Brothers searched the area with their helicopters and took video footage of the tire tracks in the wash that later ended up being from a volunteer's truck who had been searching for Dylan. The pond at Dylan's farm was drained and searched. This was said on June 14th on Duty Ron. Week number 2, searching for DylanRounds. Organized search looking for a particular bunker, and it was found and cleared. Other areas of interest were also searched by all means available to ECSO and public volunteers. This was on Nancy Grace's interview on June 13th. Tuesday, June 14th, Bonneville County, Idaho took Dylan's pickup truck into custody. Candace personally verified this. Wednesday, June 15th, investigation classified as criminal investigation, and FBI has officially become involved in the investigation. This was in the press release by BESO. Saturday, June 18th. Both of Dylan's campers were taken into custody. Candace verified this. Week number 3, searching for Dylan.
No public search was held the week of June 18th and June 19th to allow for law enforcement and EquiSearch to conduct their activities without interference. EquiSearch had drone operators out in the area. Twyla confirmed this on private communication on June 18th.
Okay, so I do want to start off also by playing some other updated news that is relating to the fact that Jim has been named as suspect officially. And it is also showing it in court documents. So first, let me show you the news article that is titled, and this was on June 30th, Suspect in DylanRounds case missing. Suspect in DylanRounds missing case arrested. So this was 4 days ago. And thank you again, guys, for being here. Really appreciate it. No. It just seems like this case is moving very quickly. So that is good news, because the sooner we get justice for Dylan, the better.
A suspect has been arrested in the search for DylanRounds.
So see, this has already named him a suspect. But I do find the court documents, which I'll show after this, very interesting, because if it's talking about a grand jury, then they must have enough on this James, aka Jim, to have those court documents I'll show you, and just to be calling him a suspect in general, because person of interest obviously is a little bit different. Suspect weighs more weight.
Box Elder County authorities received information from a person of interest who lives in Lucin, Utah, where Dylan lived. A person of interest told deputies that after Dylan went missing, James Brenner gave him firearms to, quote, hold on to due to past experiences with law enforcement. Brenner is a convicted felon, and police previously searched his home and found gunpowder and ammunition. They took him into custody on weapons charges. He is now being held without bail.
Okay, so that we've known. We've known that for days, that, he's been held. Chase is being held. Now, this is interesting. And this was on Crime Time with Jess today, I think. Okay, yeah. 4 hours ago, Crime Time with Jess. They have somebody on panel who is a paralegal, and they're just going through some stuff that they had discovered in some court documents relating to James and the case, pretty much. Also naming him right in the court documents a suspect, which backs up the media report that we had just seen. And I'll link all the channels that I discuss in the description box at the end of the live stream.
Property belonging to SH and RI that is adjacent to DylanRounds. DylanRounds was reported missing on May 30th, 2022, and his whereabouts are unknown. The defendant is known to have had contact with DylanRounds and is a suspect. I really wish I could blow that up. Is a suspect in DylanRounds' disappearance. That is in black and white. This is a part of the United States motion. So here he is officially being named as a suspect in Dylan Rounds' disappearance. A search warrant was executed on the defendant's trailer, revealing black powder firearms equipment. DH, which is a neighbor of Dylan Rounds. I am unsure if he is a suspect in this case. You guys may already know his name. If you do find, I'm not going to slander this man on here because we don't know his exact involvement. But DH was the person that handed over the guns that James Brenner gave to him after he was interviewed by the FBI about Dylan Rounds. He gave these guns to DH to keep for him for safekeeping. Okay.
And according to the documents, he's being protected. So it's definitely like safer for his name not to be out there.
Exactly. So DH was interviewed by FBI and admitted that the defendant asked him to hold black powder firearms and a .22 caliber Winchester rifle.
Okay, so as we see here in these documents, and she posted it on her community page, so you can look at it even closer if you wanted to. It's legit court documents. He is being listed as a suspect in those documents and in the media that we've seen days ago. But the fact that it's going in these court proceedings for the grand jury is interesting, because it obviously means that something is brewing behind the scenes that is giving the prosecutor the ability to go forward and say, like, hey, this, here's what we got going on, like wheels are in motion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that's good, because we haven't seen something like this take place in Summer Wells' case. In fact, everyone's been whispering about, like, oh, grand jury. What do they have? What do they have? Even the DA has come out in the Summer Wells case and said, I'm in constant communications with the investigators. I give them my legal advice and they give me what they have as evidence. And since nobody has gone to some grand jury thing like this in reference to those suspects in that case, that gives me a little bit of hope here in the Dylan Rounds case, because I'm thinking, okay, well, this is something we haven't seen in a while in cases that we've been following. And missing person cases is totally different than following other true crime cases. It's totally different. There's a lot of mystery. It can be anybody almost involved in a lot of these cases that involve like a missing person. However, we've seen in the Gabby Petito one, totally different. You knew exactly who to look at and where to go. And that's sort of where this case kind of started out with, going right after the rumored significant other, even though it's been denied and all that. So let's actually go to another source that I'm going to use tonight, which is the Reverend Donna interview with Kurt. And we talked a lot about Kurt's first interview with Crime Time with Jess in our last live stream. And we picked apart a lot of his words there. I have some of his Kurt's notes sprinkled here too. So, we're always going to be referencing Kurt, even though I feel like me, myself, and I'm thinking chat too. And hi, CDT, I saw you come in. And Punksy, thank you so much for being here. I'm thinking too that it seems like people are kind of looking away from Kurt as being nefarious or a suspect here. Although his story has changed and we want to know why, it could have a lot to do with other aspects besides his disappearance, like the rumored relationship. You guys know where I'm going with that. There might be something else that's wanting to be hidden or not be 100% about when it comes to Kurt, which might not have anything to do with his Dylan's disappearance, but time will tell. But, James Brenner, it seems to be who everyone is looking at, and with fair reason. We are going to speculate, and we are going to kind of wonder and point the finger. I mean, he was right there on the property in a way. You know, I've heard people say like, well, actually it wasn't Dylan's property. The technicalities seems, the fact of the matter is he was right there. He had the access to the gate. There was communications between James, the person who owns the land, and Dylan in a way that it seems as though maybe people weren't seeing eye to eye. Is that what you guys are sort of seeing? Let me know in chat. And also, if you're watching this on replay, let me know what you're picking up as far as the dynamics between the person who owns the land, which I believe a local has even come out and said, like, horrible person, horrible guy. Ed, is that his name? Harshberg or something? Either way, it just seems like there could have been some headbutting. There could have been something going on as far as drama between the landowners and all that. So what are you guys thinking? Let me chat right now. And again, thank you guys for being here. Yep, the truth hopefully will always come to light. Although I feel like in certain cases, like the Watts case. Sorry, I don't think we have the truth there, but with these individuals, I think we have a good chance of seeing the light. So I definitely think in this case, the truth will always come out. Hi, Valerie. And in case people were wondering, yeah, definitely agree, Mike. So we were wondering in the last week's stream, the arrest affidavit, when they were doing the DH initials, if it was Don, and it seems the consensus is saying yes, that's referring to Don. And this whole thing with Don and James is problematic because obviously they were the first ones on scene before the family gets there and before the authorities get there. And I'm also hearing, and let me know if this is true or not, that James was involved in the searches also, and he's even seen in pictures and footage helping out with the search. So we have a suspect who's been at the crime scene, a potential crime scene. I'm not even 100% sure that something went down at the grain shed. I don't know if the truck is even, his pickup truck is even like into play with it, something that happened. I don't know if it's relevant. I do know that there seems to be a lot of emphasis on when did it rain. The rain is going to tell the timeline of, you know, when the boots got out there. Obviously, the boots aren't going to get out there until after something bad happened. But Dylan makes a phone call to somebody around 4-ish, 3 something. So he calls the landowner around that time and leaves a voicemail, which is being held and protected, I'm assuming, by FBI, because that probably has vital information in it that obviously could be Dylan's last communications with somebody outside his perpetrator. Don't know. You know, it's just, I feel like it's being protected, that information. So let me just pull up this Kurt interview, which will talk more about that phone. And I know you guys have seen this and heard this. I've just decided to clip the little things that stick out to me. And I like going through it with you guys and reading your guys' comments when you guys watch it on replay.
The guy that owns the property out there. He said, I just found out about this. You know, this is pretty crazy. I said, yeah, it's just like a bad nightmare for me. And he said, well, you know, Dylan called me. I was stuck up in Idaho in another time zone and everything else. So the times are all, I can't really think it was 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. But he called me. I was out of service, so he left a message. And it's more than a minute long, and I can't listen to it. And I was like, no, that's the word. I have messages but more than a minute on my phone. I don't understand that. But he said, I called Verizon. I said, why can't I listen to this message? And they said, well, because it's too long. And they said, well, if law enforcement can get it, but you can't. You can give it to them, but not you. And I said, dude, you got to call. I'll give you the FBI guy's name right now. You can call and get this. Figure out what that message is, because the time was about the time this probably happened, about 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Oh, he left a message on your phone around that time?
Oh, on this other guy's phone. He called this guy that owns the property where he parked that truck.
Oh, he called them around 4?
Yep.
And he left a message and the guy can't retrieve it?
He can't himself, but that's why I said, well, and Verizon told him he wanted to hear it. But they said, we can't let you listen to it, but law enforcement can get that. If they call us, we'll get it for them, but we can't give it to you. I was like, well, that's the weirdest thing I heard of. But,
well, it makes sense if law enforcement's already talked to them, so they have a hold on it not to give out any information. I mean, that makes sense. You know, under normal circumstances, it wouldn't make sense. But if law enforcement's already, all I heard was his phone pinged around his property around sometime in the afternoon.
Not his property.
Oh, not his property, the other property?
The property, the truck. He didn't own that property. He just had access to it. That's all. Yeah. That's what's so freaking about all this,
The Colorado guy's property. The phone pinged around the Colorado guy's property.
And yeah, I was listening to this the first time, CDT, on the walk with the baby, and I'm like pushing the stroller. I'm like, why couldn't the owner hear the voicemail after it was on his phone? I just don't know exactly what the whole thing is. And remember, Kurt is telling a story from somebody else who told it to him. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, is Kurt getting the story right? Or did something get confusing, like with the people in Verizon? You know how sometimes they are. Like if they're misinforming him about something, because it started off with him saying that the message was too long or something. And then it was like, well, they can get it. The law enforcement can get it, but he can't. I don't know. It was just kind of like all over the place. But I'm wondering, what if they asked the landowner, since he was one of the last ones to talk to Dylan, and obviously he owns the land where something could have occurred. Do you think that they would have taken the landowner's phone and just said, hey, do you mind if we get this voicemail off it? And like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out that too. Like, why couldn't the owner hear it? But again, we're hearing something through somebody else. So I don't know. Let me see. Let me reference my notes, and then I'll start playing some audio clips for you guys, and we can talk through those too. So actually, something did pique my interest. They could have, but they would have taken it in a different state, right? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out what Kurt heard from them and what Verizon told them, but I just I remember in Kurt's interview, he said something about talking to the grandma and like kind of laying out what it was like hearing that nobody had heard from Dylan. And he had said something that like stood out to me before James, it even came out that James was a suspect, because that was 4 days ago. It said, or Kurt said, why didn't Jim sound the alarm, when no one had seen, or when he hadn't seen Dylan or anything, like it just seemed like even Kurt was wondering, like, why did it have to like come to like pulling teeth to get something moving with Jim, because I guess allegedly, and if you guys heard this, let me know. Grandma was saying to Jim, when she called him, worried that she couldn't get a hold of Dylan, and Jim told Grandma, don't worry, quote unquote. So it's just, if that's true, that's even more interesting and disturbing in the same sense. Especially hearing that from the family on duty run that Jim was wearing Dylan's hat. Like, what is going on? we see on JLR's channel pulling up his public records, and James's past is obviously violent. We knew even from Candace, she had mentioned that he had gotten in a fight with his neighbor and it was a physical altercation. But what JLR pulled up was something that had taken place in the 80s, and it was, an SA charge and something else violent on there. So it's been a very long progressing issue with this person. I'm not sure what his issue is, but it seems like there's more than one source and there's more than one something to rely on that points to James Brenner being very capable of this. Because in my notes I have written, Chase is this and that, he robs. We've all heard about Chase, but would he kill Dylan? Is he capable of harming somebody else? And it's like, maybe people would do anything, and they do bad things for drugs. Obviously, everyone knows that. But, is it something that we have to worry about when it comes to Chase? I don't know. As soon as I started moving away from Kurt, I started moving towards Chase and who he associates with. And we all know that during Kurt's quote unquote psychic reading that was given to him, that, it led to them going to this Robert, and his last name starts with an O. He's also in custody. He was associated with Chase, and Kurt was saying that they were holding him there, and they go to Robert's mother's house, and, obviously Dylan wasn't there. So these people, I started was like, who is this person? Who is that person? Thinking outside the box of Kurt and thinking outside the box of even, is Chase capable of this? And then we get to James Brenner, and everything's just been escalating really quickly. So I do feel like because of the court documents we've seen and because of that media source naming him a suspect, things are very hot under James. And even Dave Rader, the lead coordinator on EquiSearch that was there, he said that he believes there will be something big that'll be happening for the case in a positive direction for justice for Dylan when it comes to the case in the next 2 weeks. He also said that they believe that Dylan will be found within 20 miles of where the farm is. And that was just a prediction. He, made it very clear that they can't give more information or details about where they've searched and all that, because obviously there's a very moving investigation going on right now, and everything needs to be protected. And that's what EquiSearch is very much about, helping others and keeping the relationship with law enforcement safe, and they can rely on each other. So the owner of the land received a call from Dylan. They said around 4. His last ping was like 3 something. So I want to say that that's what that was. But again, time will tell, and the metadata is what we are seemingly going to be relying on. Did something happen? Like some altercation? Very, very possible and very, very probable, I feel. Hi, Pink Dahlia. Thank you for being here. I see you. Thanks for being here. I don't know. It's just so many different possibilities. And I feel like so many different personalities mixed in too, like criminals, older gentlemen too, that even older women are very set in their ways, so it's just very interesting to think about Dylan, who's obviously set himself apart as in comparison to other peers his age, but also the fact of everyone that he's kind of surrounded with. He does stick out like a sore thumb, and they've said it again, and I'll say it again too. Like, he was just swimming around sharks, sadly. So let me play some audio and then I can kind of hone in on my chicken scratch notes while I'm playing the audio and decide what I want to reference and all that. So these audios are just a few minutes each, but they're interesting, and I will source the channel that I'm be playing it from, and I'll be linking in this description box afterwards. I just didn't get around to it. So 1 second, guys, and thank you for being here. Okay, so oh, thank you, Kelly Brown, for sending me the PayPal. Thank you so much. And anyone who sends thank you, I will definitely give you a shout out, and it's much appreciated. And you've supported me for so long. And if anyone hasn't subscribed to Kelly Searches Equals Answers, it's very, very fascinating work she does over there, true crime related, not just the Watts case. She does other cases too. So thank you so much. And if anyone can link her channel, please. Sorry, guys. All right. I hate how Macs do that. Like when you slide your finger on the mouse pad and then you just are like exited out. All right. So this was on Tyler Feller, and I've just got a few of them. Actually, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clips, and the longest one is like not even 3 minutes. So I'm just gonna play these. We can talk about them, and yeah.
Yeah, Jim. He goes by Jim, but yeah,
So this is a local who's called in before. I'm sure you guys have heard this and are familiar with this, but it's just very much reiterates how dangerous James's past is and his reputation around the town. And again, he's been listed as suspect in the media and through court documents. James.
Yeah, Jim. He goes by Jim, but yeah, I was told he'd shoot at you, so I guess that's who everybody refers to as the dirt farmer. But yeah, I didn't know Dylan was even out there until my neighbor said something after he went missing. But
he would have had a key to Dylan's gate.
Well, he used to get. I guess he's a kind of a violent, short-tempered person. So he lived in Monticello, I guess, and he used to get in a lot of fights. So the guy that owned the property where the grain truck sits moved him out there so he could do like security. And then Dylan's farm is like 5 miles further up the road. But Dylan didn't have no cover, so I guess he had put his truck down there.
I see.
But the rains that day, I've been talking to several people. The rains up here by Bald Eagle Mountain were really hard. And then when you get down by the sun tunnels, it's like hardly anything. Sometimes it didn't rain at all. But then when you get out towards where Dylan's got his crops, it started raining again real heavy. So these roads, I mean, they don't get...
So the sun tunnels, in case people don't know, is sort of like a three-dimensional interactive like art piece tourist attraction out in the middle of nowhere. You can obviously look them up on Google. I'm sure you guys have seen them, but pretty much they were kind of in this area. And here through the live stream, as a creator, it's very hard to kind of run your stream, pay attention to your panel guest, and pay attention to your live chat. And people do a great job. And I'm not saying that he doesn't do a great job, but what the local is describing here about the rain and all that, I feel like is very, very important. Like, I feel like the time and the timeline and all that is going to be very much about the weather. Where did they move him? You know, does anyone even know if the boots were like wet or did they get wet? You know, these things matter. So I just feel like the local, if you just hone in on what he's pretty much explaining about the mud and all that, it's very important information in my opinion.
Get really wet because there's a lot of gravel, except for when you split off of Pigeon Road onto his road to go to where his crops are, it gets really muddy there, and you could see tracks in the mud. So I think he was killed when he was putting his grain truck in, when it was just a light rain, and then they moved the body before the heavy rain came in. About 3 o'clock, I think, is when the heavy rain started to come in.
I see.
That gave him quite a few hours to drive his body somewhere.
Well,
and you
today,
would have
Kurt told someone on the ground today that Dylan had power washed the truck like that day or the day before.
Hold on. Delana says, now we do know. Now we do now have information that was posted by the family that Dylan did in fact have keys to the gate that Jim gave him. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, the Jim having the keys. Dylan did have the keys to the gate that Jim gave him. So Jim didn't have the keys? And hello, Kimmy Jean. Thank you for being here. And somebody else came. Oh, Bonita Barbie. Thank you for being here. So it wasn't the other way around. Okay, you're sending me a message through Messenger. Okay. We are getting live updates. Okay, rumors to clear up. Dylan had a key to the gate. Jim gave it to him. The family has not been made aware of any grand jury proceedings. Friday at 1:30 is the next hearing for James. The last phone call is still Dylan's phone call with his grandma at 6:51 a.m. Okay. Where is this being posted? Because it's being, it's coming from the family directly, according to this. So that means he didn't make this call to, so what Kurt is saying is a lie again. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, pretty much, Pointer Lovers. So many shady characters. So remember, Kurt said in that clip that we just played on Reverend Donna that Dylan made a phone call around 4 to the landowner. And now that whole thing we listened to is now being said that this is a rumor. And it's coming from the family. I know Dylan's mom said they couldn't really tell if the boots had been rained on or not because they lose color very easily, but it was reported that there was a spot of blood on Dylan's boots. So I'm assuming that maybe they were there after a rain, but then I'm hearing that it rained on and off all day. I don't know, guys. And think about it. There was no tracks. There was no tracks from, I mean, there wasn't anyone that was saying that we know verified that there were footprints out towards the boots and all that, you know? So did it rain yet, or it's just very much up in the air? And why is Kurt coming out with more stuff that seems to be being debunked or said not true? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see. So JLR also pulled up public records that showed that James Brenner owns land on the Utah border, and Justin, Dylan's father, hadn't known about it. It's on the it's in Elko County. It's on the Nevada border. 10 acres. He purchased it in 2016. It's 53 minutes away from Dylan's farm and the boots that were located. So yeah, that was, I remember Pink Dahlia, she told me, she's like, I think that that's weird that Kurt would call to Reverend Donna and speak with her. I don't know. Yes, this info was posted just today to the official DylanRounds Facebook group. And remember, guys, that Facebook group has family members in it that contribute to it, that are monitoring it, that have specifically told us, web sleuths and everyone following the case, if you're going to reference things, please make sure that it's from this official group. So they're coming out saying that, hey, yeah, no, that wasn't Dylan's last phone call. So apparently Kurt is making up lies. I don't understand it. He's not even like, I don't know. I don't understand it. This must be way bigger. I don't know. No, it was never confirmed, Pointer Lover, that it was that it was blood on the boots. It was just speculated and assumed, and we were waiting on results that have not been given to us yet, which I don't understand why. So wow, that I'm just still in shock that Kurt seems to be saying things that the family is saying, no, that's absolutely not true. Yeah, he is strange, Robin. I agree. So back to Jim. We're going to play some more clips. Yep, Mike, that's the truth. That's crazy. Thank you, Delana, for sending me that.
Truck is parked on the other side of the Sun Tunnels, and then you got my other friend that lives just west of the Sun Tunnel.
So that basically sounds like you're friends with every single person that lives in Lucin.
Well, I didn't really know Jim, and I didn't really know Don, and I didn't know Dylan. I didn't even know Dylan was out here because everybody said stay away from the dirt farm, he'll shoot at you. So we just never went down that way.
So would Dylan shoot at people?
No, but Jim, I guess it was Jim they were talking about. Yeah, he would shoot at people if they came down the wrong, because sometimes when they're going through the sun tunnels, they turn the wrong direction. And yeah, I guess he would shoot at them. That's what I was told. Wow.
So that is just somebody, a local, speaking about James. And, you know, we've already seen his record. We've already heard about him. Apparently, his property isn't that far away. So, you know, it's like a 53 minutes. Close enough for something to happen.
Wheelers? Well, yeah, there's a few people that did. I mean, they've gotten stolen. A lot of us got broke into about 2 years ago. They took a ton of tools. They took four-wheelers. They took a Polaris from one of my neighbors. And they have drones. They fly these drones around at night, and they can tell if your cameras are working, because these nature cameras are all on infrared. Well, your drones can see the infrared, and if the cameras are working, they won't go over there. But if the cameras aren't working and they don't see anybody there for a day or two, they'll break in there and steal pretty much anything they need.
and maybe a trail. Let me tell you how these people did this. They used four-wheelers. There are 2 four-wheelers that were reported stolen in that area by a woman. And from what everybody in that area knows, forget boots on the ground or drones, those 2.
No, Karen, they don't have Dylan's phone. Apparently his family has been able to get into social media accounts through other devices, and they claim that it didn't lead them any information. But yeah, it pretty much is the Wild West. It's crazy. So this is obviously the PI. He's on Tyler's show again. They're just, honing in on sketchy behavior that goes on around there, which we've heard over and over. They go into a little bit of detail in a theory of possibly him being taken off property by a four-wheeler. I guess there was four-wheelers that had gone missing, that were stolen weeks leading up to Dylan going missing. So that's been theorized. Also, I guess, I don't know. I'm wondering where this crime occurred, because even though it rained, cadaver dogs would be able to detect something still. And, a lot of people are very much sure that something took place there on the property, but wouldn't there have been some sort of scent or something? And maybe there was. It's not like they've come out and said nothing was detected with the dog, but I don't know. I'm just very curious what the dog's report was.
Four-wheelers are in police custody. So are probably 3 of the 4 people that are involved in this. They're waiting to put their cell phones together because those criminals that did something to this kid, their cell phones are going to match up. I'm not worried about a grain shed. I'm not worried about drones. I'm worried about the 3 people that are in prison or in jail at this time. Thursday's going to be pretty interesting, Kim, because Thursday they're going to say whether or not they extradite Chase Venstra to another state. If they extradite him, they're done with him. If they keep him in the state, there's your main suspect. So basically, you put this kid in a meat grinder. How could you think something bad wouldn't happen? There's people that send their kids to Ohio State University on secure.
So I'm hearing through JLR's reporting that the feds have now charged Chase with something to do with handguns, because he's a felon, this and that. So I'm wondering if he's just going to be held there. So this clip obviously is old at this point. So everyone's kind of wondering how Chase's court appearance will go. We'll see. But I'm hearing that he's now being held on federal charges now as of a few hours. So let's see what's next.
They took a wheelers and maybe a trail. Let me tell you.
Hold on.
They took a wheelers. They took a wheelers. Well, yeah, there's a few people that did. I mean, they've gotten stolen. A lot of us got broke into about 2 years ago. They took a ton of tools. They took four-wheelers. They took a Polaris from one of my neighbors, and they have drones. They fly these drones around. I came in there, and nobody can find anything. They have nothing other than what they found when the FBI came in there, based on Chase near mile marker 53, which, by the way, I was the first one to release. Mile marker 53 came when I talked to Chase Venstra's parents, before I ever talked to Chase Venstra or his son. And that was told to me by his father, mile marker 53. And I'm telling you this, they've got nothing. What they need to do is look at that security footage, that camera that's right down the street from mile marker 53. I forget the name of the road. I don't know if it's 30 or what it is, but there is a giant street camera right there, and maybe the FBI has already looked at it. Whatever they found, and I've heard rumors, I don't know. I'll just give you an example. His clothes, maybe his cell phone or his wallet, but whatever they found on that trail was enough to bring in the FBI. So this kid's gone.
So that is in reference to the rumor that's been going around that they actually did find clothing items or something of Dylan's that was significant, and that's just a rumor. So the local goes on to say that Montello's side has the militia, aka vigilante group, and the meth. So that's all on that side. Like that's not Lucin, according to this local. Also, according to Candace in one of her first interviews, she spoke about the gate and how it was locked, but typically it wasn't ever locked. So I don't know, because we've also heard that there was a fence and Dylan took down the fence. I don't know. There's like a lot of different gates and fences being spoken about, and I don't know if they're all referencing the same one or what. Let me see. So yeah, it just seemed like there was a lot of people talking about just stuff getting stolen out there. Same stuff we've heard.
Did he on the case did Chase ever say why he was bloody or why he was out there for 3 days? I mean, other than looking for the shadow people, the shadow daughters. Did he say why he was bloody, where the blood came from?
I'm sorry, other than looking for the shadow what?
See, that sort of surprised me that, because remember, we heard before, was it Kurt who said it? That when Dylan picked up Chase, he was in some sort of like meth psychosis and was saying that his daughters were out there calling for him and he could hear shadows and stuff like that. Like, remember Kurt was trying to say that that's what Dylan said Chase was saying? I don't know.
Wasn't he saying that he was looking for the shadow people?
I've never heard that before in my life. That's why I double took on that. I don't even know what a shadow person
so
is.
Why did Chase tell you that he was out there for 3 days and came out bloody? What did he tell you? Did he mention that?
Chase told me a lot of stuff. He admitted he was a piece of garbage. There was 3 things that Chase told me right off the bat. He told me that I have a terrible background. I am a bad guy. I've stole from people. I've done all this. All that is true. Don't forget, at the time I spoke with Chase, there was a $5,000 bounty on his head. Nobody even knew if he was officially involved in this, and nobody could reach him for days. He reached out to the family on social media. I think it was Candace. I could be wrong. And then I called him. I had his number, and I spoke with him. But I spoke with his brother and sister-in-law first, then his parents, and I said, Chase, I want to get you out of this. He says, I'm not talking to the cops, but I'll talk to you, because I wasn't a local. So he talked to me. As far as why he was bloody in the desert, he talked about a fight. He talked about being bloody and being in a fight, and then he tried to downplay how bloody and messed up he was. I'm still waiting to see some pictures of what he looked like out there. Then he was real odd, Kim. He started telling me about the photograph. I says, you look nuts. Let me tell you something about Chase Venstra. Very smooth, extremely intelligent when he talks. He goes, Jim, he goes, my God, he goes, I look terrible. He goes, and he called me about half a dozen times, maybe more. He was giving me information in the case smoothly. He called me so much, there was calls I didn't take. And then he said stuff like, you know, I've lost a lot of weight since my last mugshot. I shaved my beard and my goatee. I don't look that scary anymore. Then he talked about a domestic issue with a woman that he had, which I think is what he was later arrested for. Now, this is over the course of a bunch of phone calls. So the number one thing he told me was how bad of a guy he was, and the people were going to tell him that, and he understood why everybody wanted to see him.
So I just find it very interesting that um when James Brenner was found with Dylan's hat on, I just want to know for sure, did they do a ballistics test on James right away? They could even do a test for ballistics on that hat. That could really paint some sort of picture, possibly, like I'm sure a defense attorney could argue whatever, but a ballistics test on clothing items that, all the suspects were wearing would be interesting too. Especially that hat that he allegedly was wearing of Dylan's. So, it just goes down to, like I said, the people who are being held are going to be put in a lot of pressured situations in hopes that they flip or, give up information. Obviously, we need to find Dylan. It's not unheard of that you can prosecute without a body. The fact that the family is saying they haven't heard anything about this grand jury information, I mean, that's just court documents. Maybe it's just not been communicated to them. Maybe, do you think is possible? It's not like, I don't know. So then what was that court stuff shown? You know what I mean? All this stuff is just very up in the air, I guess. But, we do know that James is a suspect. Pretty much. It seems pretty evident, in my opinion. Let me see. I think I have. Yes, he was wearing Dylan's hat. And hello, Mel Mac. I saw you come in.
He's on the case.
Yeah, but they're still there in town. Those were the three things he harped on. People I could call that would corroborate things that he said. He talked about being at Little Caesars, and I said, "You're in the desert, you're bloody, you don't have shoes or a charger, but you go get a pizza?" And then he said his father helped him do it. Then his father called me, and then his father called me, and I've never released this before. Then the father called me and said, "Can you help me get my son's car out of impound?" And I said, "Impound? What car?" He says, "Well, when he made it back here, the police have arrested him and they won't release the car to me." I thought that was real interesting, and I don't know if to this point they've ever released the car. I think that what they need to do is look at people's cell phones in this case. And the straw that broke the camel's back with me in this case, and this is new information. I guess that hides a Senate. I'm going to speaks one of Chase Venstra's children's mother and one of his daughters, who's now of age, has reached out to me. Their text messages have also been sent to Doug. And they said, "Our father killed him. We know he did. He's a whack job. We've always known that." I mean, even they are preparing themselves for it. So I don't know if copper piping was stolen. I'm going to imagine anything that isn't nailed down out there, once they're gone, it isn't going to be stolen within if they're digging up dead dogs in the desert looking for stuff, because I guess that hides a scent of drugs, and I'm going to bet that probably copper was taken. No, we never mentioned barbed wire to me.
Got
So pretty much there's a lot of emphasis on the metadata and cell phones, what they'll find on this and that. There's rumor also, I'm sure everyone has heard, that Dylan had 2 cell phones. We have a local who's on the one of the panels saying, like, it's not unheard of that people out here would have 2 cell phones because the service is so choppy. One might work more than the other one, given the circumstances and the location and the cell towers and service. So did Dylan have another phone? That's still kind of up in the air. It seems as though people are saying that that's what it was. People are saying that the landowner and James and Dylan could have had some altercation too. There's just a lot of speculation going around. Now we don't even know if we can rely on that voicemail that Kurt is claiming took place. Like, I don't understand why things are being misconveyed or confused or whatever. There's people who believe Dylan is still alive, and I feel like there's a lot of hope that he is. I wonder at times if maybe he was alive, taken away. I mean, why else would his boots be there in a way, like if something had happened, like an accident or a fight, what would be the need to take the boots off? Whereas we've seen and speculated on if they're barefoot, but they're kept alive, they're still kind of being controlled and in a vulnerable state. So is that what was being taken place? Or, it's just very questionable. It's everything is just, we don't know. I still wonder, what the cadaver dogs alerted to. Candace pretty much doesn't say anything about it. She doesn't say that they found anything. I tend to believe that I guess they didn't find any death in the radius that the cadaver dogs searched. So did the crime take place there, or, was it a fight and then he got taken away? Is Chase somebody who is bad enough that he would help out in a crime? He might not necessarily commit the crime, like somebody else might be the violent person, but he's somebody who would want to participate in it and need to participate in it to feed his drug habit. We don't know. But yeah, that pretty much remains to be the truth. Bonita Barbie, nice picture. He was very vulnerable out there. I don't know if he's alive truly, Mike. I think he might have maybe left alive. I don't know. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry. Just had to check the baby for a second. All right. So she's still sleeping. Everything's good. All right. So, there's just a lot of everything up in the air. Why were the boots there? Could he have left alive? I don't know. But what are you guys thinking? Yeah, Bonita Barbie said, I've seen people whacked out on drugs do some violent stuff completely unprovoked. And meth, if we're talking about meth, it's nothing to mess around with. Yeah, those women were held hostage out there. And again, somebody associated with Kurt. It's probably downstairs. All right, forget it. Pink Dahlia said, the whole no shoes in the desert is a control tactic. Nobody is going to want to try to make it through the desert without shoes. I can't help it, but the human hunting theory is fascinating and frightening. I agree. It's absolutely crazy. And again, the PI was saying, listen to the Montello police scanner at night. He said it's terrifying. And I wish that somebody would play it or record it or something, because I want to hear it, but I don't want to download a police scanner and actually do all that. But yeah, I don't know, guys. It's just very lot of theories going around about what possibly could have happened. Let me look right now and see if there's any updates before I say goodbye to you guys. I just hope that we have an outcome where somebody can get justice, like this family, because we've seen Gabby Petito's family just have not the justice that Gabby deserved. You know what I mean? Yeah, the only updates I'm seeing is that Chase being charged by the feds, and that was in regards to him having the handguns, so he's going to be, his charges seem to be upgraded. The family is saying that what Kurt said about the phone call to Verizon isn't true. What else? That was crazy to hear. It's just leads you to wonder more and more, why aren't people being truthful? Thank you, Bonita Barbie. I appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, the family says that Dylan had a key to the gate. Jim gave it to him. The family has not been made aware of any grand jury proceedings. Friday at 1:30 is the next hearing for James Brenner. The last phone call from Dylan's phone is still with his grandmother at 6:51 a.m. And that is statements as of the last few hours. Box Elder has also come out in the last few hours and said that they don't need any more help searching. But yeah, that's it, guys. That'll conclude the updates. I think I've ran through everything that I had to say and share. Hold on.
With Dylan for a short period and contacted Tyler. Let me address that to make sure I address it the best way I can. So the kid in Canada is a kid that contacted Tyler with some very specific information that he didn't know if it was relevant to the case or not, but had claimed to have worked for Dylan for a short period and claimed, and we're not going to dwell on this, I'm just going to tell you what the claim was, claimed that he had been in a short entanglement with Dylan, and that Dylan had talked to him about another gentleman, young man who was in the area who he had also been involved with. And the guy that sent this information to Tyler claimed that he was interviewed by the FBI on Friday and that he would talk to Tyler after that, and then has not contacted him. So that either means that he was not telling the truth, or it means that the FBI interviewed him and told him not to say anything, that he claimed, again, that he could prove that he had met Dylan and had had this interaction with Dylan by a video that he had, but that he did not want to send to Candace. And he claims that he told Candace about this story, but she didn't want to believe it. So we're not going to dwell on that topic because we have no proof of that. That is purely an email we got from a guy that could be true, it could be false, but that's what people.
But he's a real guy, though, Kim, right? I mean, we looked him up. He's a real guy. We found his picture. We know who he is, and I've corresponded with him, and he pretty much said what you did. I tried to get him to send me that video like a million times, and I think.
But unless the time frame happens after Dylan disappeared, it's irrelevant.
Not even close. I'm going to tell you why, okay? Because if you didn't know what this kid was into before he disappeared, you're not going to know where he is afterwards. If you didn't know his lifestyle, if you didn't know the people he hung around, we're now hearing, forget the sexual stuff, forget the homosexuality. If there's a guy in Canada who lived with DylanRounds, who met him on websites, and then went back to another country, and nobody knows this kid exists, and it's legitimate, who else was on that property? What other people were staying?
So I think we will leave it there because, yeah, is it irrelevant? if somebody came out saying this or that, you know, it if it was before, is it relevant? I don't know. He makes a good argument, you know, like, were there other people who possibly could have been surrounded by him? At this point, I feel like there would have been some sort of metadata, dating app, text messages, possibly something linking an outsider to the area. I think that while it is, I don't know, it's interesting. It is what it is. It also puts it more weight into maybe Kurt, you know, might have been, there's a reason why he's making things up, or I don't know. But anyone, feel free to share your thoughts listening on this on replay or whatever. It's just, hopefully, no matter what is being said, it leads us to finding Dylan. I don't think that that tip will. I think that, in my opinion, I think that tip, uh, while it does open your mind to think like, well, who else, you know, was out there possibly, or who else could have been around this kid or known about information about this kid, like his money and this and that. It seems as though Kurt knew the most out of everybody about him. But it just seems like also there would be traces of other people being on property with phone data, but time will tell and we will see. You know, maybe the family, even though they say they went through his accounts and nothing stood out, maybe they didn't get into Tinder and whatever other dating apps are out there. We don't know. But I don't know. It's just, hopefully we get some answers, and we will talk very soon. I'll try to keep you guys updated. Like I said, things are happening really quick in this case. So I feel like, hi, Yenny, I saw you get here. We're concluding everything, but you can replay it if you don't mind. And everyone, thank you for being here. And if you guys can just give me a thumbs up and keep my channel getting pushed out there. So actually it helps my analytics and all that while I wait to get remonetized. But also, you know, let's keep the faces out there of the cases that we cover. And we'll be covering a lot of things true crime here, as you guys know. And yeah, it's just so many questions and few answers, but at the same time, I have hope that we will be getting some justice in this case if we can get these people to give up some information, because I feel like the people that they have are people that are vital to the answers we need. So I'll talk to you guys soon.